Our would-be heroes have found themselves captured by the vampiric Mayor Gunter, and now they're about to learn how the vampire universe came to be in the first place. And this is a story that's as fascinating as it is dangerous, and as terrifying as it is bloodthirsty.
What's that? You want to be scared? Come with me. You will experience tales of horror, ghosts, and death. It is not recommended for the weak at heart. Listen in the dark. It's more fun that way. This is Weekly Spooky.
Hello, my spookies. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's time for a little spooky in your weekly. I'm your host and narrator, Enrique Couto, and we have quite a terrifying tale for you tonight as we delve into part 3 of our summer miniseries, Portals, by Rob Fields. And I have to tell you, my spookies, I was getting nervous this show might not be on time, because there was a massive power outage right here in the part of Ohio I live in, scenic Dayton, Ohio, the Paris of Ohio. It lasted about 2 days. But here I am, back in the air conditioning and in the studio, to read something scary just for you. So, you're welcome. But seriously, I'm always happy to be here with you, to bring you a little fear in your week. And before we get to the story, I want to remind you that if you absolutely love what we do here and you want to support us and get more content every single month, you can head over to weeklyspooky.com, click on Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month, get 2 bonus stories every single month. And right now, we're in the midst of a Patreon-exclusive novel, 24 parts to it, called The April Fool by Rob Fields. You do not want to miss this fun teen scream story. It's a hell of a lot of fun. Just head to weeklyspooky.com, click on Patreon, and join 105 other spookies in supporting the program, which has helped us bring you the spooky on the weekly for almost 5 years now. Weeklyspooky.com, click on Patreon. But now, my spookies, it's about time for us to get back to the story, to our part 3, and find out how this vampire universe came to be at all. All shall be revealed when we return after these quick words. Last time, on Portals, our heroes managed to get away and go into hiding after learning they somehow returned to the alternate vampire Earth. After comparing notes from previous experiences, the group decides that instead of just looking for a way back to their Strickfield, they're going to find the source of the vampire's portal technology and destroy it once and for all. As Bella Tabon, Felicia Mirren, and Carter Cross help provide a distraction, Madeline Donnerly, her cousin Aileen, and Ariel Mirren drive to Mayor Patrick Gunter's office. There, they learn that the Strickfield of the Vampire Earth is not the same as ours, especially when they learn of a key discovery worth investigating. Mayor Gunter surprises them, and they flee. The other group arrives just in time to try and rescue them, but they are quickly overrun by the many vampires under the mayor's command. They are then taken to an unknown location and placed into cells that sap their strength. And now, the origin of the alternate vampire reality will finally be revealed in Portals, Part 3, by Rob Fields. The present. Mayor Patrick Gunter regarded his prisoners as the energies of the cells kept them in a weakened state. Ariel Mirren walked to the bars and tightened her fists. Why? Why would you turn your world into this horrible nightmare? Mayor Gunter chuckled. Oh, I didn't do this alone. You see, there was someone else just as hungry for power as I was. someone who wanted power so badly that said person approached me. After hearing what my new partner had to say, he shook his head. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. No, it's best that I start from the beginning. 10 years ago, Patrick Gunter was furious when he saw that he was behind in the polls again. He couldn't believe the people of Strickfield favored the current mayor, Harmony Mirren, so greatly. Gunter had his own voters behind him, but not nearly enough of what the current mayor had, and the village election was coming up very soon. Gunter growled and slammed his fists on his table. He knew he would never be able to sway enough voters in his direction. It was bad enough that there were so many Mirrens in both houses of Congress. There was even talk about a few of the Mirrens possibly making bids for the White House. There were also 3 Mirrens on the Supreme Court. He knew many of those Mirrens serving at the federal level were dirty. Not Harmony Mirren. This Mirren not only became the youngest mayor in Strickfield at the tender age of 21, she had also kept her campaign promises of not raising taxes and putting current tax monies toward programs that would benefit the people greatly. Harmony Mirren was truly a good mayor to her village. Gunter had tried many things to turn people against her. When it seemed he had found dirt on her and brought it to light in their debates, Harmony was easily able to explain his accusations. In effect, Gunter really had nothing concrete against Harmony. Now it was looking as though Harmony would win a second term by a landslide. "How do I beat you, little girl?" Gunter hissed. "How?" "Perhaps I can help," someone called out. He quickly turned around and couldn't believe his eyes. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. "And how are you able to get by my men?" The person chuckled. "Believe me, I have my ways of doing things. I assure you, it's just the 2 of us in here. Now, I believe you said you'd like to win the election and become the new mayor of Strickfield." The person chuckled again. "You're so petty. Why settle for just Strickfield? What if I could give you this whole world?" Gunter couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Why should I believe someone like you?" The person sighed. "Very well. I'll give you a demonstration of the kind of power I'm willing to share with you. What if I could give you the election and the mayor's house? What if you won by a landslide? I could make that happen for you, Mr. Gunter." He became very angry now. "I don't have time for your games. Don't you understand? I'm way behind in the polls. I'll never beat Harmony Mirren in this election next week." The person smiled. "Then I'll have to give you something right now. What shall I give you to prove the kind of power that I have? Think about it very carefully." Gunter decided to call the person's bluff. "Okay, if you can get me the election over Harmony Mirren and by a landslide, then I'll listen to anything you have to say." He shook his head quickly. "Personally, I just don't see someone like you making that happen." The person laughed with amusement. "Next Tuesday is the election. If that's the proof you want of the power I have, then be ready to move into the mayor's office in January, Mr. Gunter." Gunter laughed scornfully. There was no way this person was going to be able to get him the election and the mayorship of Strickfield. Harmony Mirren had way too much popularity and would win with the vast majority of votes. When Gunter again went to look at the person who had appeared before him and wasted his time, he gasped upon seeing he was all alone once more. He looked around to see if he could find the person, but there were no traces. He sighed and knew he would just have to wait and see. Patrick Gunter still couldn't believe his eyes when he saw the front page of the Strickfield source. He hadn't even bothered to stay up and see the results of the village election, knowing full well that he would lose. But he hadn't. The front page of the morning paper had, in huge bold letters, "Gunter wins." When he looked at his answering machine, there was only one message. Harmony Mirren had called to concede and congratulate him on winning the election. Then she demanded to know how he had done it, saying that there was no way in the world that he could have won. He didn't have the popularity or the potential votes. Every day since then, the mayor-elect had waited to see if that mysterious person would appear before him again. It was only when the December of the following year came and Mayor Gunter was entering his office that he finally saw his mysterious friend again, who was now sitting behind his desk. Mayor Gunter pointed at the mysterious person. "How did you make my winning the election happen?" The person chuckled. "Didn't I tell you that you would win? And now you are the mayor of Strickfield." The person smirked. "Also, didn't I ask you, why settle for just Strickfield?" Mayor Gunter raised his hands in front of him. "Yeah, I remember. You said you could give me this entire planet." He looked skeptical again. "How will you go about doing that? Do you have any idea how big this world is? I don't think there's any election you could rig up that can make me dictator of the whole world." The figure raised a finger. "That would remain to be seen, but that's not what I was thinking as far as how you would have this world." Mayor Gunter raised an eyebrow. "I'd like to sit in my chair if you don't mind." The figure looked serious now. "Actually, I do mind, Mr. Gunter. You and I need to come to an arrangement regarding our partnership. You want ultimate power, I want ultimate power. This world is ours for the taking. I can lead you to that very power. I can give you everything you want and never knew you wanted. All you have to do is agree to be my partner." The figure held out a hand for Mayor Gunter to shake. Upon shaking the figure's hand to seal the deal, the figure smirked. "Now, you and I are truly partners, Mayor Gunter. In case you're thinking of trying to double-cross me in any way, all I have to do is just snap my fingers, and all will be as it was. In other words, you'll be right back to the day I found you. You'll easily lose the mayoral election to Harmony Mirren, and our deal will be all for naught." Mayor Gunter groaned. "You've thought of everything, haven't you?" "I wouldn't be worthy of my family's name if I didn't. Now would I?" The figure replied. "Now, do you want ultimate power or not?" "Since you said we're partners now, then you should know my answer," Mayor Gunter returned. The figure smiled, a sinister smile. "I knew you'd see things my way." Suddenly, the figure revealed a large tome and dropped it right on the desk. Mayor Gunter couldn't believe it. "Behold, Mr. Mayor, within these pages are powerful spells that can allow you to have your heart's desire to go along with your mayorship," the figure said. "But there's one page within this ancient book that will grant us, this entire world. The real question is, are you willing to take those next steps with me in order for us to claim that power? We have only to take a little walk to a specific house here in Strickfield. Unless, of course, you're afraid of ghosts and haunted houses." One week later, it was a dark and snowy night. Mayor Gunter and his partner walked down a few desolate streets. Only a select few houses in this vicinity had any Christmas decorations up or lit. Before long, they were turning down Pleasant Valley Road. Soon Mayor Gunter stopped, dead in his tracks. You really aren't thinking of us going into that house, are you? He demanded. Oh, that's exactly what I'm thinking, Mr. Mayor, his partner said. The ultimate power we are to obtain is in that very house. Now don't tell me you're going to chicken out. Remember, we both have just as much to gain here. Mayor Gunter pointed to the old mansion. But this is the Carnavash estate. You yourself had to have lived in Strickfield long enough to know this is the one house in our village that you walk on the other side of the street to avoid. His partner again emphasized ultimate power and seizing the world. I promised you that you would be mayor, didn't I? Why would I lie to you now? He considered his partner. Okay, you have a point, but why promise me unlimited power? You could have seized it all for yourself. Yes, you're right, his partner agreed. But what fun would that be? It's fun to have a partner in crime to share all this with. And think about this. I handed you a major victory over a Mirren when you won the election. Imagine what you could really do to the Mirrens when we get ultimate power for ourselves. Mayor Gunter nodded slowly. Again, you have a point. I do love seeing the Mirrens fail. And with my help, you will, again, his partner promised. But we must go into the Carnavash estate. There's no other way. Maybe it was against his better judgment. Maybe it was the promise of ultimate power. They continued down Pleasant Valley Road until they were standing outside the front gate of the Carnavash estate. Before he realized it, he was already on the other side of the high, vine-covered fence that surrounded the ancient house.
There's more scares where that came from. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
Mayor Gunter felt his heart pounding when the back door squeaked open. He was surprised at how quickly his partner went inside. After closing the door, Mayor Gunter followed his partner. Soon they entered a library. Every shelf was filled to capacity with ancient, leather-bound books. We'll have to look around very carefully in here, the partner said. There's a secret passage in here somewhere. How do you know? The mayor demanded. Didn't you read the tome I gave you? Obviously not, or you would have read the information I already know. There's a secret entrance here in the library somewhere. Once we open it, we head down into the chamber. Then we go from there. It had taken them several months, but Mayor Gunter had finally found the one book that would not come loose from the shelf. After pulling back on it, they heard a loud noise. Mayor Gunter pulled open the shelf to reveal the hidden stairway. Using flashlights, they descended the stairway until they were in a ceremonial chamber with a large altar in the center. No, it's not here, the partner said. The passage I read said one must be willing to descend to the furthest depths to reach ultimate power. Mayor Gunter snapped his fingers. Perhaps there's another secret entrance, located in this secret room. Exactly what I was thinking, Mr. Mayor. But where exactly? It had taken them several more minutes, but the partner had finally discovered a switch that caused the altar to move and reveal yet another hidden stairway leading further below the Carnavash estate. Before Mayor Gunter could say he wanted to turn back, his partner had quickly entered this newly revealed passageway. Mayor Gunter continued to feel conflicted as he followed his partner down, further and further. Soon they were in what appeared to be a crypt, this one looking like it had possibly been built during the Dark Ages. "It's here!" his partner exclaimed, pointing at a chest that had several chains binding it and a bright blue energy field surrounding it. She turned off her flashlight. "What is it?" Mayor Gunter gasped, turning off his. The ultimate power, his partner gasped equally. All we have to do is open it, and this whole world belongs to us. How will we get through that field? Then Gunter remembered. No! I remember the words! He glanced at his partner. For your information, I did read the book, from cover to cover, several times. I just wasn't sure this was real. You know the Mirren magics work, the partner said. Why wouldn't they work now? All we have to do is recite the counterspell to remove the barrier and unshackle the locks. From there is absolutely nothing to keep us from opening the chest and seizing the ultimate power for ourselves. Mayor Gunter decided to voice his concerns. The passages said that the very essence of Dracula himself is within that chest. It was written that he existed for thousands of years, which is how and why he became the oldest and most powerful master vampire ever known. He was finally brought down by a few select ancient Mirrens who had turned aside from evil and perfected powerful white magics to finally stop Dracula and free the world from his terrible power. His essence has been contained inside this chest all this time. He took a deep breath. You have heard the story of Pandora's box, haven't you? If not, I'll gladly inform you. I've read Greek mythology, his partner snapped. I know the story of Pandora's box, but this box will give us ultimate power. Once we free Dracula's essence, this world will be ours. What makes you so sure Dracula won't just turn on us? Gunter inquired. As long as we both know the original spell, he can be returned to his prison at any time, the partner reminded him. I'm sure that once Dracula is free, he'll be more than willing to share his power with us. Go ahead and leave if you want. I won't force you to stay with me any longer. Consumed by his lust for more power, Mayor Gunter began reciting the ancient words that the darker Mirrens of ancient times had written. He wondered why they themselves never undid the spell their traitorous relatives placed on the chest. He continued to recite the spell. Suddenly, winds filled the chamber and the torchlights became fully lit. The mystic barrier surrounding the chest flickered before it was finally gone. When Mayor Gunter finished with the incantation, the chains unlocked and fell to the floor. There was absolutely nothing to keep them from opening the forbidden chest now. Before Mayor Gunter could think of what to do next, his partner was already at the chest. Just seeing the evil radiating from his partner's smile and eyes made him wish that he hadn't done what he did. However, it was much too late to undo anything. Now, my revenge against the Mirrens is complete, the partner yelled in accomplishment. As soon as the chest was opened, just the slightest, a neon purple light erupted from it. The partner opened the chest all the way and laughed as the light filled the entire chamber. Soon, powerful beams of light shot into both Mayor Gunter and his partner. They felt themselves being infused with such incredible power. For several minutes, they remained still. When the power stopped feeding into them, they knew they were fully transformed. Mayor Gunter saw his partner's new vampiric face and knew his own was the same way. In fact, he could already feel the fangs growing within his own mouth. The power escaped upward through the two passageways and out the Carnavash estate. The power continued its ascent into the winter storm. Mayor Gunter and his partner reached the outside and saw how evil the sky had become, no matter how far they looked. What have we done? Mayor Gunter groaned. not sure that he really wanted to hear the answer. But he didn't have much time to ponder further as he felt an incredible thirst and knew there was only one thing that could satisfy it: human blood. Suddenly, Mayor Gunter and his partner transformed into giant bats and flew in search of their first victims. It had taken them only short minutes to find suitable nourishment. The first people they encountered had already been transformed into vampires, like themselves. Mayor Gunter wondered why not everyone had been transformed. Just the same, he was glad to be able to slake his thirst. It was only a matter of a few short days before Christmas that the entire planet had become enfolded in the eternity of night. The sun would never brighten the skies of Earth again. Now both Mayor Gunter and his partner found themselves on borrowed time, after consuming their recent humans that they were just barely able to find. He looked at his partner. "We're almost out of food," he said. "There are too many of us, and not enough mortals to sustain all of us. How are we supposed to have unlimited power and rule this world if we become too weak from thirst?" The partner turned to him. "You think I haven't already thought about that? Not only do we have the Mirren magics at our disposal, we also have technology. All we have to do is enact the next phase of my plan, and we can have all the delicious mortals we'll ever need or want." Mayor Gunter and his partner went back to his office. There, his partner explained how they would take over the Strickfield nuclear power plant. Using the Mirren magics in combination with blueprints stolen from a few Mirren technology branches, they could add the power of nuclear energy to fuel their plan. At the same time, they would tap power grids around the world and shut them all down permanently. Only their nuclear plant would make power. While Mayor Gunter and his partner worked to construct their new prototype portal device at the Strickfield nuclear power plant, they managed to find some more humans to be able to sustain them until their work was completed. Apparently, the mortals that hadn't been turned had banded together to form resistance groups. The two of them had to be careful not to be caught off guard and be finished off by these groups. However, they were powerful enough to where they were able to secure some of them as their food source. When everything was ready, Mayor Gunter threw the switch and opened their first portal. Mayor Gunter ordered some vampires to enter and bring back mortals. The experiment proved to be most successful. Mayor Gunter and his partner were able to feed the vampire legions that obeyed them. Then Mayor Gunter's partner found other ideas in another Mirren tome on how to bring mortals to their universe. From there, more methods were used to open portals from their universe to others. Use of physical mediums such as movies on film, compact disc formats, flash drives, and many others were used to be able to open portals. All that would need to be done would be to send these lethal mediums to other universes and wait. But these plans were not without resistance. The former mayor of Strickfield, Harmony Mirren, would make a last stand against Mayor Gunter. Harmony was the leader of a human resistance group that was determined to destroy the power plant. The group had made a valiant effort, but the vampires were far too powerful for them. Before the remainder of them could retreat, Mayor Gunter had seized Harmony and infected her with but a single bite. By the time Harmony had retreated to the Strickfield Town Center Mall, her mall, she had become one of the undead herself and would turn on those who were her allies for food. With Harmony Mirren no longer a threat, Mayor Gunter and his partner were free to do whatever they wanted. His partners had kept the promise of unlimited power, and control of Earth, after all. The present. Mayor Gunter turned to his prisoners. Now you understand how we came to conquer our world and bring it into everlasting darkness. Now you understand how we can do the same to so many other Earths in so many other universes. The possibilities are endless. You people are truly monsters, Ariel Mirren yelled. We won't let you get away with this. Mayor Gunter laughed. And who will stop me, little girl? You? Your friends? The cells you've been placed in continue to sap your strength. Soon you six will be nothing more than easy nourishment. Mayor Gunter produced a walkie-talkie of his own. Then he spoke into it. Are the enhancements to the reactor finished? Ready, the voice of his partner on the other end replied. Mayor Gunter smiled with glee. Then reactivate the reactor, so that we may bring more mortals into our world, that we may have a more plentiful harvest. He looked to his prisoners. In case you haven't guessed yet, you're in the Strickfield nuclear power plant. When the prisoners heard the reactor coming to life, Ariel tightened her fists and shook her head quickly. No! She shook her head faster. No! Now she could feel the intense anger growing within her. No! Ariel shook as she suddenly felt an incredible surge throughout her body. The next thing she knew, she was forming green and red fire in her fists. Also, her eyes and hair began to glow with bright light. Well, my spookies, it looks like while we had a lot of our questions answered, many new questions have been raised. So I guess I'll have to see you right back here next week for part 4 of Portals to find out what's going on. That's the fun of the summer miniseries, and I hope you're all enjoying it as much as I am reading it to you, especially now that I have electricity. My goodness, it was 94 degrees yesterday, no air conditioning, no fun. Of course, I couldn't even record in the heat because, well, this whole thing requires some electricity itself. Yeah, it's amazing how many things actually need power, but I digress. I'm getting a little carried away. I just want to remind you guys real quick, we have an amazing Patreon exclusive novel being published 2 parts a month over at weeklyspooky.com when you click on Patreon for as little as $1 a month, and it really does make a humongous difference in helping us keep the show going and going and going. And as you probably guessed, this October is going to be crazy. We're going to have multiple exclusive novellas and so much more. And speaking of Patreon, I want to say an extra special thank you to our Patreon podcast boosters, folks who pay just a little bit more to hear their names on the show. And they are Johnny Nix, Jenny Green, Brent McCullough, Karen Weemet, Jack Kerr, and Craig Cohen. Thank you guys. And if you want to hear your name at the end of every single episode, you just go to weeklyspooky.com, click on Patreon, and choose a tier at $15 a month or higher. We sure do appreciate it. But now, my friends, it's time for me to get back to work in the darkness of the crypt, and for you to stay cool, stay safe, and stay spooky, and make sure you tune in next Wednesday. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss the 4th part of our summer miniseries, Portals. For myself, for my executive producers Rob Fields, Mark Shields, and Bobbletopia.com, my producer Dan Wilder, and my composer Ray Mattis, see you next week.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to find your way back next week. But for now, you are safe. Trust me.